There are two scenes in the New Year episode of Doctor Who that tell you everything you need to know about this incarnation of the Doctor and Chris Chibnall's run as the head writer. We'll get to them soon enough, but first, let's quickly run through what happened. The last festive special, Resolution, featured a returning enemy, something the first season of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor had avoided, for some reason. This year's offering followed on from that. The destroyed Dalek from that episode is being transported to some government site. The driver is then murdered when he stops at a roadside cafe for a cup of tea and is poisoned. How did they know he'd stop at that particular spot?
I don't know.
Maybe they had hundreds of little cafes set up all along the route. And why kill him at all?
I don't know.
They just wanted to steal his truck, and he'd gotten out of it. Could they not have just stolen it, or knocked him out? It's not like he was a heavily armed security guy. He was just a truck driver. Oh well. Happy New Year, buddy. So it turns out that the Dalek had been stolen by Robertson, the Trump stand-in from Arachnids in the UK. He's made a deal with the Secretary for Technology or something to create security robots using the Dalek tech. They do a demonstration where they show how their new Daleks could be used for riot control. It can spray water and CS gas at people. Why can't they just get a person to do this? Meanwhile, our hero, the Doctor, is in space jail a bazillion light years away. She's going through her mundane life and reading Harry Potter to herself at night. Also, meanwhile, the fam are in their own TARDIS. Yaz is obsessively trying to figure out where the Doctor is, but Graham and Ryan are more resigned to the fact that she's never coming back. We can only hope, eh? They have footage of the riot demonstration from earlier somehow, and decide to confront Robertson. So they do that, and he just tells them to piss off. He doesn't even know what a Dalek is. In fact, no one does, for some reason. Back in space jail, Captain Jack Harkness has been roped back into the show to save the Doctor. To be fair, there are a couple of good lines here. When the Doctor is greeting her fellow cellmates, she says hello to them like she knows them all. Then she sees a silence and says, "Oh, I forgot you were here." Well, I smiled anyway. Then, when Jack reveals his hidden teleport thingy, she asks how he smuggled it in, and he says, "Do you really want to know?" That's one spacious cavity you've got there, Jack. They head back to the TARDIS, and they go back to meet the fam. And it transpires that the Doctor's been gone for 10 months from their perspective. She says that she was in space jail for 19 years, but they seem pissed off. You know, rather than saying, "Oh dear, that must have been terrible." So they get her up to speed, and they head off to confront Robertson again. While all this has been happening, the Tech Sec has become Prime Minister, and she announces her new Dalek security force. You know, exactly the same thing that was done in Victory of the Daleks by the British government back in the 1940s. But apparently no one remembers that or has read any of the history books. Anyway, it turns out that Robertson doesn't see any risk. However, his partner had cloned an actual Dalek from cells in the original burnt-out Dalek casing. And it takes control of him and somehow manages to have hundreds more cloned. The gang find the cloning facility in Japan, but the cloned Daleks manage to teleport into the Dalek casings somehow. So now the Daleks start exterminating everyone, because they've been fitted with actual weapons somehow. Things look bad, so the Doctor decides to alert other real Daleks about what's going on, knowing that they won't take kindly to these new mutated versions. The real Daleks turn up, wipe out the new Daleks, and then the Doctor tricks them all into flying into the second TARDIS, which she has made look like hers. She then collapses it and sends it off into the void, where they'll all be destroyed. And it's a Happy New Year ending. Except for all the people who died, including the new Prime Minister. Although, to be fair, she had it coming. And that's pretty much it. It's not a good episode by any means, but it's not terrible. So what about the two scenes that sum up this Doctor's run? Well, in one scene, Ryan asks the Doctor what happened at the end of the Timeless Children episode, and she says that she doesn't know who she is anymore and everything has changed. And then Ryan talks directly to the fans and says, hey, don't worry about it, change is good. So it's essentially Chibnall telling fans to stop moaning about the fact that he's totally destroyed the canon. It's exactly the same as Ryan Moonface Johnson using Kylo Ren to tell the Star Wars fans that they need to forget about the past, kill it if you have to. And we all know how well that went down with fans, eh? It just shows how little the new showrunner stroke head writer thinks about the fans. The second scene is at the end where Ryan and Graham decide to leave the Doctor. Now, all companions leave eventually. The Doctor has had literally dozens of them. But this time it's a bit different. Let's just look at the new Who companions. Rose leaves involuntarily because she's trapped in another dimension. It's quite emotional. Martha leaves because she has romantic feelings for the Doctor and she knows that he doesn't feel the same. It's quite sad. Donna is forced to leave and have her memory wiped to save her life. Bernard Cribbins cries, and it's all very sad. Amy and Rory get zapped by the angels and die in the past, tragically. Clara dies and then has to leave in her TARDIS with Arya Stark, while the Doctor forgets her. It's all a bit complicated, but, it's quite poignant. And poor old Bill Potts gets murdered and then horrifically converted into a Cyberman before leaving to live with her spooky new girlfriend. So we can see that most of the companions were forced to leave, killed, or forgotten about. Ryan decides to leave this Doctor because he wants to be with his mates. And Graham was only along to be with Ryan, so he leaves too. This is the Doctor's fam, and they just don't want to hang around with her anymore. The Doctor's supposed to be this amazing personality that people risk and sometimes even lose their lives to be with. But this Doctor is so bland, boring, forgettable, annoying, lecturing, and lacking in any charisma that most of her companions would rather go to the pub with their mates than travel with her. I think this just sums up Jodie's Doctor perfectly. Being with her is such a chore that her companions can't wait to ditch her. Sorry, Doc, there's a film on I want to watch. See you later. I imagine Tosin Cole and Bradley Walsh's agents urged them to ditch this train wreck, just like the viewers have. There's a few other points I'd like to make about the episode. Jack being back was nice. Barrowman is always good value.
Barrowman!
He gets some decent lines and stuff to do. The main issue is that his obvious charisma just highlights this Doctor's lack of it. Much like Tesla in his episode, it just makes you wish you were following his story instead of the Doctor's. Robertson has an innocent man murdered, colludes with the corrupt Prime Minister, and tries to sell out the Doctor and humanity to the Daleks. But he gets off scot-free. He even gets to take the praise for defeating the Daleks. What happened to justice? Is this Batwoman or something? Yaz is clearly being set up to be a closer companion with the Doctor now the other two have buggered off. Will it be a romantic relationship? Who knows, or even cares at this point. And so we end this episode with Ryan trying to ride his bike again, just like the first episode he was in, and he still can't do it. No progress has been made and nothing learned. To rub in the fact that being with the Doctor has been a complete loss for them, Ryan and Graham see a vision of Grace, who died in Jodie's opening episode. What was the point of this?
I don't know.
Was the Doctor just trolling them? The after credits scene introduces us to our next new companion, played by John Bishop. For those of you that don't know, he's a British stand-up comedian. No doubt he's brought in to try and introduce some personality to the show. He'll have to work hard not to be sucked into the charisma black hole generated around Yaz and the Doctor. We'll find out in the spring. I hope you enjoyed this short review. I'll be trying to do more of them in 2021. If you did, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, paint the melon, whatever you like. See you later.